So I'm really excited about this project. It's called Bringing Our Symbols to Life, and you're going to get an opportunity to put into practice everything that we've learned about symbolism in literature. You're going to be able to identify symbols in Divergent and in your own independent reading novels. Okay, so before we get started, let's just do a quick review of symbolism. We know that a symbol is a person, place, or an object that represents something greater or beyond itself. It allows people to communicate beyond the limits of language. What we do know is that a symbol is a concrete object and it represents an abstract idea or feeling. Concrete means that we can touch it, we can feel it, it exists in reality. It's not just an idea, but if it's abstract, it expresses something that can only be grasped within our mind or our hearts. So symbolism is the combination of those two. When we use a concrete object to represent an abstract idea, let's take the American flag, for instance. To us, the American flag is a concrete object, but really it represents or it symbolizes independence, democracy, freedom, justice. Remember that we spent a lot of time talking about what symbols can mean to us. Depending on the setting, the situation, or the people or the characters involved, even our own culture, symbols can possess a variety of meanings. We discussed in class that if we want to identify a symbol, we have to determine its significance to the characters and the conflict that's taking place in the story. We want to be sure to pay attention to any thoughts or opinions regarding the symbol made by either the narrator or the character. And when we analyze, we want to look for the symbol's deeper meaning by asking ourselves what the symbol reveals about the character, the conflict, or the story in general. When we talk of a symbol's symbolic significance, we're referring to the important or the profound meaning beyond the symbol. Therefore, objects have taken on more than their literal meaning and they have a symbolic meaning or significance. So let's think about an everyday object. For instance, the moon. It's a celestial body. It's a large natural satellite that revolves around the Earth. But what does it symbolically represent? Well, there's many things that the moon can represent. People from many different cultures have looked to the moon as a source of light, but some also believed it was an ancient goddess, like Artemis or Diana. She represented youth and chastity and protected all animals. People believed in and worshipped her in their time of need, but another legend says that during a full moon, certain people transformed into these wolf-like beings and went mad for human flesh. Because of these ancient beliefs, the moon has taken on a new symbolic meaning. So let's do a turn and talk. Let's think very carefully, what does the moon represent to us? And what helped us make those connections in our mind? The moon can represent a lot of things. There's a lot of symbolic significance there. Immortality, eternity, wisdom, the dark side of human nature, lunacy, the imagination, or it just could be light and darkness, superstition, youth, adolescence, or the hunt. Now that we've done a quick review, an overview of symbolism, let's talk about the good stuff. Remember when we read Divergent, we discussed a lot of symbols that started to emerge, particularly the Ferris wheel. We talked a lot about how the Ferris wheel in Divergent is symbolic of a lot of things, like the relationship that emerges between Tris and Tobias. It could be symbolic of Tris's growing strength emotionally, mentally, and physically. Or it could be symbolic of her faction and how she's becoming dauntless. What's so great about this project is that we're going to take a symbol from our independent reading novels and we're going to bring it to life. Now, it can be from your independent reading novel or it can be from Divergent. The symbol that I chose was the Ferris wheel, and I'm going to show you how I brought that symbol to life. Now remember we discussed that there are several components to this project. First, we're going to bring our symbol to life, and then there's a writing component where you're going to express very clearly the symbolic significance of your object. You're going to explain how it affected the characters, the setting, and possibly the theme. There are two stages in the process of bringing our symbol to life. So let's start with the first stage. So the first thing we want to do is we want to gather all our supplies. You can see that we have a glue gun, which we already have in the classroom. Scissors, ruler. We'll need a pen with a really good point and some kind of a Sharpie or a marker. We'll need a couple glue sticks, which we already have, cardboard, which we're going to cut out into larger pieces, and a paper plate. Now later on, we're going to use these really cool boxes that I got from the dollar store. We're going to put them together and we are going to use toothpicks that don't have a point on the edge. So these are all our materials that we need. Before we start creating the Ferris wheel, the first thing that we need to do is create a really strong foundation. So we want to create a strong symmetric frame. And we'll need to do this twice because we need to make sure both sides are stabilized. So take a look at the picture, and the way that we're using the ruler is to shape this triangle, which is going to be our frame. Now once we've done that, we're going to cut the frame out using the scissors. And if you notice, we're going to cut the inside of the frame out as well, and we'll be left with two rather large looking triangles like in the pictures above. So now we're going to create the outline of our Ferris wheel. So we're going to take our paper plate and trace a wheel layout. You'll need to do this twice because we're going to have two separate wheels and we're going to put little carts in between. So just as seen in the picture, you're going to trace the paper plate to create this wheel. So now we're going to take our paper plate and we're going to cut out the center. And we're going to make that a smaller circle, and we're going to use that smaller circle to trace a smaller circle into the cardboard area of the wheels. We're going to trace this twice. So as you can see from the picture, I've traced the outside of the paper plate, and then I traced the smaller circle that I cut out from the paper plate. And so now I'm going to use a ruler and divide my wheel in order to have spokes. The shaded area above to the right is what we'll end up cutting out in the next couple of steps. So you want to mimic what's in the picture above. So now we can see in the pictures what we're left with. We're going to use the scissor and follow the outline that we made with the plates, and we're going to cut out our wheels. But make sure you cut out the shaded areas as well, and this will give us two wheels. Once you've cut out those wheels, this is what you'll be left with. It will look like a circle with the plus sign in the middle. Now here's where it gets a little tricky, but it'll be fine as long as you pay attention and you look at the pictures. Now we need to secure our frame with cross braces. So with the spare cardboard, we're going to align our ruler with the bottom edge of the cardboard and draw line 1, as you can see in the picture. Then we're going to move the ruler up to the bottom of line 1 and draw a second line. So basically it's like you're drawing an outline of the ruler. With our ruler remaining on the cardboard, we're going to mark with the Sharpie at 1 inch, 6 inches, and 7 inches. Then we're going to remove the ruler and draw a straight line down, just as it's pictured above with the dotted lines. So now we're going to cut the perimeter of where we outline the ruler so that you'll have two pieces that look just like the ones above. Next, we're going to measure and mark the center of the line as circled above. You can see inside the red circles, we mark them horizontally. Using your scissors, cut a slice or a slit only up to the center of that mark. So we'll put that to the side and we're going to go back to the frame. So using our ruler, we're going to find the center of the tippy top of the frame and we're going to mark the center of that, just as it's pictured above. So now being very careful, we're going to take the top of the pen and right where we marked it in the center, we're going to pierce it with the top of the pen. We're going to do this twice, once on each of the large frames or triangles. So now take your wheels and with caution, pierce a small hole in the center of the wheel. Again, you can use the top of your pen. We want to do this twice, once on each wheel. The next thing that we want to do is draw a perpendicular line to the frame base, about 1.5 inches away from the edge, and we're going to do this 4 times. Be sure to measure and mark the center of your perpendicular line, and then you're going to cut a slit on the bottom, and we're going to do this for all 4 lines. Remember, it's just a slit. We're not cutting it off. So let's create that frame. We're going to join all the slits of the cross braces to the frame just like it looks above. And your final product should look like it does in the upper right hand corner. So now we have a really strong frame and we're going to add the wheel. To add the wheel, we need to insert the point of our pen through the frame about halfway. Place both wheels onto the pen through their center holes, okay? And then slide the pen through into the second frame, just like it's pictured above. Now we're going to use this pen as support to keep the wheels in place. So we need to use the hot glue gun. Okay, so if you haven't warmed your hot glue gun up yet, you should do so. We're going to reinforce the structure with this hot glue. So we're going to place them in the corners just as pictured above. So now we should have our wheels on, and we're almost done. So we're going to take our dollar store Ferris wheel carriages, okay? The boxes are easy enough to put together, and once done, they're going to look like this. We want to make sure we seal the tops so that they're nice and secure, and then we have an overlap on the top where we're going to hang the carriages onto the wheel through the toothpicks. Now, being very careful, we're going to take our long toothpicks and we're going to pierce them through the side of the wheels and slip the top of the box through the toothpicks so that you're creating like a support system for the carriage. We're going to do this for all 8 carriages. So can you believe it? We're finally done. It's our final product, and if you turn the wheel, you'll see that all the carriages stay firmly in place, and so does the wheel. We have a secure frame, and now what I'd like you to do is make the outside of the Ferris wheel as attractive and aesthetically appealing and unique as you possibly can. You want to do this with your group members. And every time I look at this Ferris wheel now, I'm going to think of the relationship between Tris and Tobias. I'm going to think about her entering Dauntless and how I'm going to think about her growing emotionally and mentally and physically. And that's the purpose of bringing our symbol to life. So now that we're finished with stage 1, putting the Ferris wheel together, this is stage 2. We're going to prepare for the presentation to our class. So working with our group members, as you go through the process and you follow each step, I would like you to take at least 5 pictures of the major steps in the process. You're going to use the iPads and then you're going to email them to your Google account. When you open your Google account up, you can then copy and paste them into PowerPoint or Google presentation, whichever you feel more comfortable with. If you would like, you can also put captions underneath each picture to signify which step the picture went under. Now in step 2, you are going to have 2 days to gather additional sources on the history of the Ferris wheel. Remember, we started the project with this, learning about George Washington Gill's Ferris and learning about the history of the Ferris wheel. Keep in mind the card system. You want to make sure that your sources are credible. You only need 2, and then you can post the information in a Google Doc that one of your group members creates and shares with the rest of the group in order to keep track of all the data. Remember that it's a team effort, and when you're researching these 2 sources, we want to put them into our PowerPoint or our Google presentation. So the information that we find from these 2 sources on the history of the Ferris wheel only needs to be 3 slides in that PowerPoint presentation or the Google presentation. Make sure you use parenthetical citations and make sure you cite a bibliography of those 2 sources at the end of those 3 slides. The next step in this stage is the writing component, and now what we're going to do is we're going to specifically identify how the Ferris wheel is a symbol in Divergent. Be sure to demonstrate your knowledge of symbolism in literature, okay? It doesn't have to be more than 2 slides, but remember your writing will be graded according to the RACER rubric, so you want to make sure that you include specific text evidence to support your analysis. Now here's the final step in stage 2. Just as I've included audio and narration in this PowerPoint presentation, you and your group members are going to do the same thing. You're going to explain the steps that you took in the process of creating the Ferris wheel, and you're going to explain how the Ferris wheel is a symbol found in Divergent. It's as if you're taking all the slides that you've already created on the history of the Ferris wheel, the steps in the process, and the Ferris wheel as a symbol in Divergent, and you're going to narrate it for the audience. Now I'm going to show you how to add narration for each slide. The first thing that you want to do, click on the slide that you want to add narration to. Then you want to click on Slideshow on the top toolbar, and then click on Record Slideshow. Then we need to click and we want to identify how we want to record the narration. And I think it would be easiest for you if you clicked on Start Recording from Current Slide. You'll want to record the slide, the animation timings, and the narration. When you click Start Recording, you have to remember that you have to physically press the right arrow button to allow the images and the content to pop up as you speak into the microphone or headset. If you want some additional help and you think watching a video will help your group members, then you want to click on this hyperlink and it will bring you to a YouTube video that explains it in more detail. And remember, I'm going to put this up on the website as a regular PowerPoint so you can click on all the links. The narration will allow us to speak over our slides, to speak out loud what's written on our slides. But if we want to insert audio into a PowerPoint, then what we want to do is click on Insert in the upper toolbar, and then we want to click on Audio. Click on that drop-down arrow, and then we want to click on Record Audio. You can add audio to each slide and have it play automatically, or have it play on click. You can also add other types of audio from clip art, like applause. If you and your group members feel that you want to look at another website, you can click on this hyperlink in the PowerPoint presentation and it will give you additional information. But just remember, I'm here to help you every step of the way. There are 2 stages in this project and we will work on them together in class. And a lot of it can be continued at home when we use Google Docs. Let's work together to bring our symbol to life. Okay, so for those of you who want an additional challenge and you're brave enough, we're going to try to take our PowerPoint with the narration and save it as a movie file. It is so easy and it's something that you can do so that we can share it with our peers and post it to our website. So if we want to save our PowerPoint as a movie file, first thing you want to remember is make sure you save it as a regular PowerPoint file first. And then to save it as a movie file, you're going to click on File, Save As, and you're going to click on the drop down arrow where it says Save as Type, okay? And you're going to click on Windows Media Video, WMV. Just make sure you know where you're saving the file so you don't lose it. So you want to be sure that you give it some time to save, and when you try to open it, you're going to open it in Windows Media Player. And it's going to look something like this. And it's so great because we can upload it to our class website or to our Google site, and then we can share it with everybody. So make sure you follow these directions, keep them on hand, and remember that I will post the normal PowerPoint file on our website as well. Good luck!